Call to order the Springfield Township Board of Trustees meeting of June 13, 2017, about 5:30 p.m. Can we have a roll call, please?
Yes, Ms. McFarland?
Present.
Mr. Honorlaw?
Present.
Mr. Barney?
Present.
All the trustees are present.
If we could all stand now and say the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can we have a motion to approve the minutes of our regular session May 9th, our special meeting and bid opening on May 9th, and our regular work session on May 23rd? Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Mr. Burning, do you have a financial report?
Yes, I do, Mr. Barney. For the month ending 5/31/2017, the township expenditures were $1,659,346.58. The receipts were $1,415,929.88. This gave us an ending cash balance of $19,928,746.45. This includes obligations for expenditures, payroll, regular operating costs, ongoing capital improvement projects, and investments. I request a motion from the board to approve the receipts, warrants, payroll expenditures, updated and current revenue and reports for the period ending May 31st, 2017. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And I want everyone to know financial reports are available for viewing at the administrative offices weekdays during regular business hours or any time on our website, as we do keep that updated. And that's all I have, Mr. Barney.
Thank you. Mr. Gilbert, do you have some action items?
I do. Thank you, Mr. Burning. This evening, I just have a few action items for the board's consideration. One is to set our annual tax budget hearing for July 11th at 5:30 p.m. at the beginning of our next regular scheduled trustee meeting. As the board is aware, this is our annual tax budget hearing that we're required to do under the ORC, and then we provide that obviously to the county auditor regarding our previous revenue and expenditures from the first half of 2017, and then the expected for the second half of 2017 in anticipation of the budget for 2018. So I would ask for a motion to set that tax budget hearing for, again, July 11th at 5:30 p.m. at the beginning of our next regularly scheduled trustee meeting.
So moved.
Second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Second item I have is we recently had put out to bid various road improvement projects throughout the township. As the board is aware, we are embarking on a fairly ambitious road repaving schedule for some of our assessment projects that have seemed to be fairly popular with neighborhoods throughout the township. And off the top of my head, obviously I have them all listed here, but Mr. Gould, how many streets does that include roughly?
I think roughly 26
Yeah, I was
streets.
going to say roughly 30. So just under 30 streets we'll be repaving this year. And looks like we had 4 bids, and the lowest bid was R.A. Miller for $621,899. That is just shy of the engineer's estimate, which was $623,700. So came in a little bit under the estimate, and I would just ask that the board award the contract to R.A. Miller in the amount of $621,899. And I would add that legal counsel has reviewed the submitted bid and is in compliance and is ready to move forward. So.
And Chris, just so the record reflects, there were 3 other bidders who were all higher, some significantly.
Correct. There were 3 other bidders, Barrett, Jerkson, and Adlita being the highest at almost $100,000 more than R.A. Miller. And the next closest was Barrett, which was $634,000. So R.A. Miller was roughly $13,000 less than the next closest bidder. So again, just a motion to award that contract to R.A. Miller.
So moved.
Second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
I might add that the following neighborhoods, the Wyoming Point, Lakeshore Estates, Millbrook Subdivision, and Gulfview are really looking forward to this. I'm sure they're excited about it.
Thank you. Next item I have is just some revisions to the rental rates for the Grove and Senior Center for the rest of this year in 2018. And to summarize, those modifications to the rental pricing for the Senior Center is to make a 10-hour all-day rental a default package that can be offered for renting rooms in the Senior and Community Arts Center. And then also eliminating the weekend multi-use tier for the weekend. And lastly, from a beverage package standpoint, and increasing the beverage attendant fee from $125 to $150 for up to 5 hours at a time, and this will help us keep pace with labor costs relative to having those beverage attendants. So those are the three changes in summary, and I would ask that the board make a motion to revise the rental rates for the Grove and Senior Community Arts Center for the remainder of 17 and for 2018.
So moved.
Second it?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Lastly, from an action standpoint, we have a proposed addition to the approved caterer list for our Grove and Senior Center, and that would be Walt's Barbecue at 6040 Coleraine Avenue. And that, I would ask that the board approve that, make a motion to approve that pending final legal review of the caterer's insurance requirements.
So moved.
Second it?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Next, just as the board is aware, I think it was back in 2008, 2009, the board passed a resolution approving the administrator to dispose of obsolete and unneeded and of no longer value equipment in the township. And as a result, we are to come back and show the board the items that have been discarded. And as you can see from the list, they're primarily obsolete and sort of inoperable or not in operation electronic equipment and computer equipment that's no longer useful or able to be utilized. And frankly, a lot of it's just not operational. So you can see the list there. This is purely FYI for the board, as we are required to submit that list to you sort of 2 to 3 times a year of what we've been disposing of. Next, I would want to bring to the public's attention that, I think we mentioned this at our last meeting, that June 19th through the 24th of this year, Duke Energy will be performing inspections on gas lines in and around buildings in the township. They will be contracting with a company called Southern Cross, and you will be able to identify those individuals because they will have a Southern Cross truck or vehicle, and they will have visible Duke Energy picture IDs on the outside of their uniforms. And if you see those individuals around, that's what they're doing. They're performing gas inspections of gas service lines throughout the township and possibly in some buildings, probably more commercialized buildings, and then you'll see them outside on some grounds as well. So I just wanted to make the public aware of that. Other than that, we have the personnel update, which not a lot of activity, but for our service department, we had our seasonal labor hires coming on board. We had 4, Michael Hartman, Dallas Schaefer, Connor Akis, Kirsten Goldick, all started between May 8th and June 1st. And again, those are seasonal laborers and for summer help in the Public Works Department. No other activity to report. And at this time, I'll turn it over to Kim for community events and programs.
Thank you. Just wanted to bring the board up to date on several community events that we have going on. They're all back to back. This Friday is our annual Touch a Truck event. On June the 22nd, which is the following Thursday, we've got Stagger Lee in concert. The following Friday after that, June 30th, we are bringing out a small afternoon concert with a local band called Triple the Trouble, and we're bringing out Marty's Food Truck, Marty's Waffles Food Truck. And then following that, on July 6th, we're bringing out the band My Sister Sarah. Busy summer.
What time does Touch the Truck actually begin?
11 o'clock.
11 until what time?
Oh, it goes from 11 to 1.
Okay, thank you.
Other than that, I have you, the board has copies of the departmental activity reports, and if there's no questions regarding those, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gilbert. We do have a few resolutions tonight. First one is Resolution Number 53-2017, authorizing sale by internet auction of unneeded, obsolete, or unfit for use property in the police department. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. McFarland?
Aye.
Mr. Honolo?
Aye.
Mr. Bernie?
Aye.
Resolution carries.
Next one is Resolution Number 54-2017, declaring nuisances pursuant to Ohio Revised Code Section 505.87 at various listed properties within Springfield Township and authorizing statutory actions necessary to abate the nuisances. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Seconded.
Ms. McFarland?
Aye.
Mr. Honolo?
Aye.
Mr. Bernie?
Aye.
Resolution carries.
Next is Resolution Number 55-2017, establishing assessment for abatement of nuisance and certifying same to the Hamilton County Auditor. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Seconded.
Ms. McFarland?
Aye.
Mr. Honolo?
Aye.
Mr. Bernie?
Aye.
Resolution carries.
Next is Resolution Number 56-2017, declaring a dangerous property condition at 234 Beach Ridge Drive. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Seconded.
Ms. McFarland?
Aye.
Mr. Honolo?
Aye.
Mr. Bernie?
Aye.
Resolution carries.
And Resolution Number 57-2017, declaring a dangerous property condition at 9084 Arrowhead Court. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Seconded.
Ms. McFarland?
Aye.
Mr. Honolo?
Aye.
Mr. Bernie?
Aye.
Resolution carries.
I would just like to make a comment about those two last resolutions. When you look at the photographs, we've all had an opportunity to look at those photographs, and I just want to commend our service department, but as well, the neighbors, I'm sure, are going to be glad that we're going to be able to get that removed, in a timely manner. Chief, when you looked at these properties, were they really considered to be condemned and should be torn down, razed down?
Yes, ma'am. Now, just to clarify the locations, Beach Ridge, is that correct, Chris?
Beach, right.
And the Arrowhead?
234
Yes,
Beach Ridge
and
Drive.
Those structures were both damaged by fire, and I surveyed those properties both personally, myself, and they have significant structural defects, and it was my recommendation that they be condemned and removed expeditiously.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I would say on the Beach Ridge, half of it's gone.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, the floor actually collapsed as a result of the fire, and so the structure is, very, very unsafe.
One of them's been sitting there for a while, hasn't it?
Yes, the one on Arrowhead, yes, that's been sitting there a while, and, the neighbors have been very patient, but when they saw me on site reevaluating the property, they were very supportive, and we're hoping that you would take action soon to try and resolve that situation.
And Chief, for the neighbors, and I know they've asked you this, there's a process we have to follow before we can just actually go in there and get to the point where we can finally take it down, isn't it?
That's correct. The Ohio Revised Code gives the fire chief authorization to evaluate a property to determine whether or not it's structurally unsafe.
Okay.
And it's intended primarily for fires or for properties that are damaged by fire. In some cases, I've assisted the Development Services Office to identify structures that have been, that we determine that they're uninhabitable, or they have certain structural deficiencies that may have resulted as a result of just age and decay and neglect. But in most cases, the Ohio Revised Code gives the fire chief authority to act when there's a property damaged by fire. And in these two cases, specifically, they were damaged by fire, and they are a danger, and it was my recommendation that they be removed.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thanks, Chief. The last resolution is number 58-2017, authorizing the trade-in of unneeded, obsolete, or unfit for use equipment or tools in the fire department. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Seconded.
Ms. McFarland?
Aye.
Mr. Honolo?
Aye.
Mr. Bernie?
Aye.
Resolution carries.
All right, moving on to next is old business. Do you have any old business?
I have no old business.
I just have one, and that was on Memorial Day holiday, the Pleasant Run Swim Club officially opened their new swimming pool. And we didn't buy the swimming pool, but we had some grant money that could help them to improve that swimming pool. And so it looks very, very nice, and the money was well spent, the money, small amount that they received. Most of the work was done by the residents as far as getting down into that old pool and digging and shoveling out all of the stuff that was down there and draining it. And today it just looks really, really nice. They had a good crowd that turned out, and there are other communities in our township that also received a small grant. One was Seven Hills, and I see Joe sitting back there. They've all used their money in a very good manner to improve the quality of their neighborhoods. And so it was really good to see the outcome from that pool, especially the fence that went around it. That was really great. And the day was wonderful. The weather was fine. So they had a real good turnout. It just makes you feel good to see how our residents work together to improve something that they considered not so, eye-appealing in their community. So we didn't do the whole work, but they did a lot of it, and the little bit of money that they received, they made it go a long way. So I just want to give a recognition to Pleasant Run for what they did in the Pleasant Run Swim Club. That's all I have.
Thank you, Gwen. Do we have any new business?
I have one thing under new business I wanted to bring up, and I've been a trustee for, quite a while, over 20 years. And normally when I see stuff, sometimes written in the paper, letters to the editor, things like that, and I've seen some stupid comments, some nasty stuff over the years, and I, from experience, know your best to forget about it and move on. But every once in a while, there's something that's so over the top that it needs to be responded to. Recently, there was a letter to the editor which characterized our police departments being soft on traffic enforcement due to the false idea that the Board of Trustees directed them not to enforce traffic laws in Springfield Township. This letter went on to imply that the reason we don't enforce traffic laws is because the township doesn't make money on traffic tickets. These allegations are not only false, but they're frankly insulting to the board, and more importantly, they're insulting to our men and women in uniform. We've been criticized in the past for running radar or writing tickets purely for money, which is where the comment that writing tickets sometimes costs the township money. We don't have a mayor's court. We don't get any money from writing a ticket. In fact, when our police have to go downtown, if one is contested, we have to pay them to do that. But that comment came up only because people didn't understand, how it works in the first place. This board has never directed the police department not to enforce the traffic laws because it's not profitable. That's simply false and ridiculous. Further, the person who wrote this letter to the editor very shamelessly tried to use the tragic death of the woman on Winton Road in front of Kroger's to somehow prove his misguided point about our law enforcement. That was a terrible accident. It had nothing to do with the enforcement or lack thereof of traffic laws, and it's unfortunate and appalling that this individual tried to use it for purely political reasons. Lastly, this township has benefited for many years from the great work and service that our police department has provided to its residents, and it's frankly insulting that Mr. Hufford insinuated that we might be better off if the sheriff was to patrol our streets instead of our own police officers. Chief, I know you and the rest of the department were disturbed by the comments, the untrue comments, and I wonder if you've had an opportunity to review our traffic enforcement statistics, and could you share those with us?
I have, Mr. Honorlaw, but not just since an article went in the paper did I review. I review these things all the time. We specifically do traffic enforcement for one reason. We don't do anything in our police department, and I mean anything, to make a profit. We're not a for-profit business. What our job is to ensure the safety of the residents and the visitors of Springfield Township. That's what we spend your hard-earned tax dollars for, is to ensure that you're safe. We're not trying to make a profit. We write anywhere from 3,000 to 4,000 traffic citations a year. We do that because we're trying to change the behavior of drivers that aren't as responsible as they should be. As far as the Winton Road goes, that was a very, very tragic accident. But when we look at where are we going to deploy our resources for traffic enforcement the most, it comes from two places. It's our analysis of where the crashes are happening and based on complaints that we receive from the residents in their particular neighborhoods. Winton Road was a place we identified last year as being one that we saw a slight increase of auto accidents that happened. We deployed our patrol officers and our traffic safety officers, and in fact, traffic crashes on Winton Road are down over 10% this year in comparison to last year. Accidents do happen, we understand that, but we spend a great part of time doing traffic enforcement in Springfield Township to ensure the safety of the residents, the kids, and the other motorists in the township. And we also prevent a lot of serious felony crimes by doing traffic enforcement as well.
Thank you, Chief. Chief, how many years have you been with the township?
I've been here for 29 years, and let me just say this. I've not been directed by this board or any other board before you to not enforce any law whatsoever. In fact, in conversations with any colleague of mine in the Hamilton County area, the state of Ohio, we don't take a soft approach on any crime. We investigate a stop sign violation just the same as we would a sex crime or a homicide for that matter. So there's never been any suggestion by again, this board or any other board in my 29 years to be soft on any kind of enforcement of any kind of law.
Thank you, Chief.
I'd like to add as well, when we've had our community police forums, and we've been having our community police forums now almost 2 years, 2.5, maybe 3 years. And our very first meeting that we had, that whole issue was discussed, not from that perspective, but to share what the facts were, because there were some individuals in that meeting that thought that the police department was purposely targeting certain individuals and giving them speeding tickets, and it's very clear that there are no individuals targeted. It's all about keeping our community safe, and our chief went through basically the process with all of those individuals in that room, and we must have had about 50 or 60 people who were in that room that represented our community. This included our faith-based community, our community leaders, our school leaders as well. And again, the facts were that we are very fair. The police department has had a long history of being fair, and they also are accredited. You cannot receive any type of accreditation if there's anything in the books or anything that appears to be unlawful. The major focus, and our chief reiterated that to everyone, and they understood it, was the fact that we focus on safety and keeping our neighborhood safe, and not just going out randomly trying to make a quota, because that was a question that was raised too. There are some communities, and I think some of us in this room may know who some of those communities are, that do have a history of meeting quotas, to try to get more revenue into their communities. That has never been and is not Springfield Township.
Chief, I think the board supports you, and I would never, to any of you directors, would I try to tell you guys how to do your job, because that's what you do. This is what we do, and it's not anywhere near the same thing. So we appreciate all the work you all do, and I'm sorry that one of our residents does not.
Well, and we certainly appreciate the support, because we would not be as successful as we are without the support of the elected officials that we do have. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now moving on. Citizen participation. If anybody's interested in addressing the board, please come up to the microphone and give us your name and address, and tell us what you need to tell us.
My name's Fred Conrad. I live on 2081 Misty Hill Drive. And as can see we have a lot of our Seven Hills Action Group members here. I guess the first thing is an announcement that we successfully did our first neighborhood walk last Saturday, like, I guess a community keeper walk, whatever you want to call it. But it turned out we had maybe 5 or 6 of us walk around, and then we ended up picking up 3 bags of trash while we were at it. And so that turned out really good. And one of the things that would have been nice is if there's some way to get like some police presence when we do these, because we're planning on doing maybe once or twice a month, or maybe even have somebody walk undercover with us just to see things that are going on in the neighborhood. Because one place we noticed on Birch Ridge, there's a trouble spot about 4 houses south of Seven Hills that they were dealing drugs right in front of us. I mean, cars were pulling up and you could see them handing bags, and it was pretty quick, and there was a lot of trash there too, so we were down there picking up trash, but nothing bad happened, but it was kind of a concern that, maybe, I don't know if there's a way to monitor that area or put cameras.
How about we chat after the meeting's over and we'll talk more
Yeah, if we
specific?
could exchange some numbers and cards, that would be great.
Absolutely.
And then another thing on the police thing, I noticed there was an officer a couple weeks ago looking at a house that's been empty, and I thought there was somebody might have broke in, and he says, no, we just routinely check it around and make sure everything's okay. And I was wondering, is there some kind of list, like if you're on vacation, a lot of people are going on vacation, is there some kind of list we can get on to say we're going to be not at home during, or this house will be empty?
Absolutely. Just call our police department. We do those all the time. We've been doing those for as long as I've been here. They get checked routinely, and what we did several years ago is that we incorporated, because we noticed a lot of houses that went into foreclosure, they were vacant, so we started checking those as well, just to make sure that things weren't happening at those houses that there shouldn't be. But call our police department, we'll take your information and check on vacation.
Okay, great. And that's all I have, so thanks a lot.
Thanks, Greg.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Joe Rivers, 2016 Bluefield Drive, Vice President of our little civic group, Shag. Just a couple things I wanted to address. We've been worried about the apartments on Roosevelt. I think we don't know if they're all going Section 8 or have they all went Section 8. Anybody have any idea?
Are you talking about the apartments that are on the right-hand side going down? They, to my knowledge, there's some research being completed regarding what they're going to do with that property. There are 4 tenants, I think, in that building at this particular period of time.
Wasn't that the old CCA?
Yes. So the Community Action Agency is looking into what they're going to do with that property. And as soon as they make a decision, then they'll let us know, and then we will certainly let you know what their plans are.
Any way we can keep, I know we got enough Section 8, any way we can do as residents to maybe stop that?
Stop what?
Any more Section 8 from coming in the neighborhood?
Chris?
Well, Chris, you want to?
Joe, I guess the short answer is no. I can tell you, as a board and as township staff, we understand and have empathy for the need for public and subsidized housing. However, we've had the same sentiment that there becomes a point where you have an oversaturation, and it tends to sometimes be a detriment not only to the property owners around it, but also the individuals that are trying to disperse out in the community and break away from that concentrated public housing complexes where Section 8 was born out of, right, to sort of decentralize it. So when you concentrate it, you're simply just concentrating now in other areas. So we actually have went to not only state representatives, but frankly the federal representatives, because that's where the law comes from. Section 8 is a housing choice voucher program that comes from the federal government out of HUD.
So the communities that I heard that said they stopped it, so I guess that wasn't true.
No. The only way you could stop it is not to approve zoning for a particular multifamily housing project, if in fact that's how they did it. To say that they're going to prevent somebody from accepting the Section 8 voucher for rent for their house that already is there is simply not true. They cannot do that. It's a federal program that the state, the local, the county, the township level cannot prevent the use of those Section 8 vouchers. So we've actually even posed changes to the law that would require a certain percentage of homes or properties in a particular census tract, since they already calculate and track properties and data via census tracts, to say only a percentage of properties in a census tract can be subsidized or housing choice voucher. Those individuals at the federal level, they went nowhere. They weren't willing to change the law. It's something that's equally enforced and something that is able to be used across the country. So, for example, you could get a Section 8 voucher here in Hamilton County from CMHA, which is simply a pass-through for the federal government, and you could take that and use it anywhere in the country. It doesn't have to be used here in Hamilton County.
And I know people, everybody needs somewhere to stay, but it just seemed like with the Section 8, you get the worst of the worst, We already trying to clean, a great job trying to clean our neighborhood up, and then you get the drugs, you get the gang violence, that sort of comes with the Section 8.
And I can tell you this, the police department, and I know Chief is ready to comment, they've been very successful working with CMHA, who's the local affiliate for HUD that administers that program for the federal government. They've been very successful working with the officials in that particular agency to ensure that the individuals that have that voucher and that are utilizing are abiding by the law. And if they don't, the police department works with CMHA to revoke that voucher and get them removed from the property. So, Chief, I don't know if you want to comment on your...
We have weekly contact with CMHA on that, and there's a variety of rules that the voucher holders have to abide by. And when they don't, we report those and work with CMHA. And there is a process, and sometimes it does take a considerable amount of time.
That's a little different ballgame.
That's a whole nother game there.
Yes, it is.
Whole nother game.
They have a right to Section 8 if they want to, I guess, what you can do about that.
No, there's a screening system for a homeowner to rent to receive the voucher program that they do, but we work very, very closely with them as well if we identify problems that maybe isn't necessarily a violation of the HUD rules that's being committed by the actual homeowner, but other issues. So we have a lot of contact with the homeowners in that regard, yes.
Also,
Let me just add something, and this is what I know about what Community Action Agency has been doing with that property. They have worked with the neighborhood as well and with the faith-based leaders in Seven Hills, to try to eliminate as much problems as they could. And what they did consequently was they evicted that whole other section that's vacant because of some of the concerns raised by the neighbors, and they have purposely really bumped up their screening of potential applicants for that property, and they purposely, as long as the 4 that are in there are abiding by the law and keeping up their property, it's not a problem, but they will not admit or have any applicant in there that they feel is not going to keep up the property, maintain the property. So that's why you see half of it is vacant and the other half has residents in it.
and we ride around every Monday, and I come back with a whole list of houses, grass uncut, garbage all in front of the house, trash, old furniture, you name it, cars on the lawn, every week it's a list, and they all are rentals, and there's no homeowners, but, we're working on it. Another thing I want to talk about was the strip mall up there, that fence line. I think you guys told me that was individually owned or individually leased, because we wanted to clean that up, cut all the bushes and the trees down. We want to do it, but, I don't know if we would be on somebody's property doing that, or is that...
Which fence line are you?
The strip mall, the B&B, the
Yes,
store
yes,
behind
yes.
it.
Yeah, that is private property.
That's all that's about.
So if you would like to make any improvements there and you want to get a hold of the property owner, at one time I knew who that was and I had their contact information. give me a call, and
Okay, yeah.
I'll try and get a hold of that property owner, let him know of your interest, link you two together, and see if you guys can work out an agreement where you can help maintain that.
And, yeah, we want to, me and Brian was talking, we want to get some people and volunteer, we're going
Okay.
to clean that up.
Yeah.
That's a mess.
Yeah, you or Brian, give me a call, I'll give you their contact info, you can reach out to them.
And I just want to also know if we do get it, we're going to create a lot of trash and, but bush and stuff, and brush. Which you guys be willing to, I know you got big trucks that you can come and load up and take it away.
Well, what I would suggest we do
If
is try
that
and,
happens.
what I would suggest that we do is try and coincide that with some sort of neighborhood cleanup day, where we can use some different funds to get a dumpster in there and do it that way. So let's talk. You and Brian and I, let's discuss that.
I just have a question. Why can't the property owner be responsible for that?
He absolutely can be, but if he wants to cut down bushes and trees, then he obviously have to get property owner permission. I can't require the property owner to cut down bushes.
And if we have
Under the law, but maybe a nuisance.
bus route going,
That's what I was thinking.
No, I mean,
Probably a nuisance.
it probably is, but if it's trees and bushes, it just depends on the extent of the cleanup that,
well, it just catches all that paper and
Yeah,
trash.
right.
You know, the wind blows,
Right.
we got the trees, they don't count for nothing.
Right, but I can-
Wild trees growing and wild bushes.
I can ensure that the property owner cleans up the trash, but what I can't do is require under the law that property owner cut down the bushes and trees that's catching the trash.
But he might be happy to hear from you to get
Yeah,
that
for
taken
sure.
care of.
Right, yeah, if I can get his name and number, I can call him.
Yeah.
Work out something.
Yeah.
And the metro, are we gonna reroute that, or are we working on trying to reroute the metro coming through 7?
Where are we on that now, Chris?
I know
Or,
both Mike and Chief have been in contact with Metro, and I think they're working on a plan, but Mike, I'll let you respond.
Yeah, just to give you a brief update, Joe, is, excuse me, we're in the process of setting a meeting with Overflow Ministries, the owner of that property for the church, and Metro. I can tell you that Metro does not have the funding budgeted for this year in order to do that. So this, at the earliest, we would be looking at would be 2018 for this to happen.
For that to happen.
Yes.
All right, other than that, I don't have nothing else, we're doing pretty good, on our shag group, you know, getting the neighborhood together, you know, just, we didn't get like that overnight, it's gonna take overnight to get it back corrected, but we're working on it, it's a whole lot better than, it used to be. What about our sign, where we at on that?
As far as the sign goes, Kim and I have been working together with an outside vendor as far as finalizing the design and so forth. We should have details to come here in the near future.
Okay, and I have one more thing about the traffic, but I get with you, Chief, we talk about traffic. That's all I have, thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
Thanks for all your work.
Would anybody else like to address the board? Okay, if nobody else would like to address the board, then I would make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
so moved.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye?
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned.